Good afternoon, New Orleans, or wherever you may be. It's 4 o'clock Wednesday, so you know what that means. It's time to launch another illegal war of aggression. It's been, what, nearly 100 hours since we launched the last. Just kidding. It's actually time for the Baldy and the Blonde Show.
Yes.
I'm Tom Kowitz with the great Michelle Godin. Say hello, Michelle.
Well, Tom, I thought your name was Tom Kowitzy.
Okay.
And I'm Michelle Godin.
I have no idea what you're
Well,
talking about.
I'm just talking about how there's this thing in the press where they just change people's names all of a sudden.
I have no idea what you're talking
So
about.
that's because you don't watch the news. But
no.
how do you say Ayatollah Khomeini, right? Like our whole life. He was Ayatollah Khomeini.
Yeah.
So now he's Khamenei. Like Khamenei
Well,
grits.
no, okay, Ayatollah Khomeini, that was back in the day. This is not him.
No, it's the same spelling.
But it's not quite. But it's a slightly different pronunciation, but it's not anywhere near like what you're saying. I did hear someone say what you're referring to.
Yeah, there's a Khamenei.
Yeah, something like that.
Caribbean.
Yeah.
What is it?
Potato.
Right. It's just, I don't know. It's just silly. Okay. Anyway, another day, another war. Here we are. I don't know. I certainly have been quite surprised by it. I mean,
well, okay, let me ask you, which aspect are you surprised by? I'm curious.
I'm
haven't
surprised
talked about this.
because one of the many reasons that I supported Donald Trump was his long-standing opposition to war.
Okay, fair enough. I get that.
Long-standing.
Now,
so I thought possibly that was true.
Okay.
And
I do see what you're saying. The difference is, honestly, I'm not surprised by it.
But I am.
I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised.
I am. He got through the first term, no wars.
I know.
This one, I could live with the little quick strike in Iran because we were told that the ability to build nuclear weapons had been annihilated. And all of a sudden now we have, 10 different explanations as to why we're in a very precarious situation.
Right, and each explanation contradicts the other.
Well, it does.
They're just incoherent babble.
And I see a lot of people just from the right, I'm talking about right now, just cheering this on as though if you have any objections to it, you are, on the left now or something.
Whatever.
But he campaigned on that, and some people believed it.
I know.
Like me.
I know.
And
I get it.
I think we have been at war continuously since World War II, with a few years off in between. I forgot, after we won the Cold War, we had, 20 years off?
20 minutes, I think.
About 20 minutes.
Now, the reason I'm not surprised, honestly, is Lucy pulls the football every single time Charlie tries to kick it.
Well, that is true.
And so I'm disappointed. I'm not surprised.
I know, but we got through 4 years of his first term.
I know. I didn't vote for him.
Years.
I didn't support him. I never did fully trust it because I'm that way with any major politician. Had nothing to do with Trump. It had to do with he's Lucy holding the football. He just happened to be the Lucy this time. And I never trust Lucy because she always pulls the damn football.
Well, she didn't for 4 years.
No, but she finally.
And that's a long
but
time.
She did.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
He was, until now, the only president in the last 40 years not to start a war. Until now. So I don't know what happened.
He did launch some things against Yemen that was not widely publicized. But he didn't start any. You're right. Any giant ones. This one could turn out to be a catastrophe, or maybe.
We'll get out.
But the thing is, okay. So even if it lasts, say he pulls out in 3 weeks, and go, look, it only lasted 3 weeks. But the turmoil and the death and destruction will go on and on for many years there. It's just that we won't be there directly doing it, and he'll be able to say, well, it only lasted 3 weeks, when that's just not true.
Well, and the other thing that I think is worth noting, and if people didn't have their ears plugged with their fingers like 5-year-olds, there's a lot of people like on the right, like Eric,
Prince?
Eric Prince, who are experts in the military operations in war, who think this is folly. We don't seem to have a plan for what we're going to do next. Hopefully that's because we're not going to do anything. But it's the same, like, look what we did with, you can go on and on. But if you look at what we did with Saddam Hussein, well, he might have not been a great guy, but he worked for us, for the CIA, and then when they were sick of him, they just killed him. But they left a vacuum and turned that place into hell. And the same thing with Gaddafi, who Hillary came, killed, and left and laughed about it. They dragged him through the streets. Not that he was a great guy, but he was, at least there wasn't insanity in that country. And, he seemed to have been providing the people with a share of the wealth that the country generated. So there's a vacuum now, and no one seems to know what's going to happen. And the idea is, well, the people can rise up. But the people, 30,000 of them were just slaughtered.
No, wait.
They don't have guns.
Do you believe that? I don't believe that either.
You think that's not true either?
Why would I believe that?
I don't know.
And the thing is, when we march in and leave chaos in our wake, and we do it time and time again, I start to wonder, is that the whole point, is to create chaos? Not even regime change or whatever other stated goal, but literally go in and cause chaos to last for years, because that's what's always happened.
That is
so
what
maybe
happened.
that's the it's not the stated goal, but maybe it's the goal, and they're really good at it.
Well, and I mean, you can look at the history of our wars, and things are not rosy at all. Things don't turn out well, usually. You can go with World War I, which the end result was the Versailles Treaty, which was awful and led directly to World War II, which at the end of World War II, nobody ever talks about this, but there was a meeting at Yalta where FDR, in one of his last acts before he died, ceded all of Eastern Europe who had fought to get away from the Nazis. He gave them to Joe Stalin, and they lived under the boot of communism and tyranny for, 70 years?
Right, and the Soviets went from our ally to our worst enemy, in the span of a couple of breaths?
Yeah.
What the hell was
and
that?
Before you could barely breathe, you were in the Korean War. I don't know what that's about. Vietnam, we certainly didn't win there. We left. Again, we left just like Biden left from Afghanistan, with people falling off the plane trying to get out. And once again, we left them in chaos and under an authoritarian regime. Iraq, weapons of mass destruction, disgusting. Colin Powell, who I thought was a decent man, actually lied to the world and said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were not. George Bush thought it was funny. At the press dinners, he did a whole skit about, I wonder where those weapons of mass destruction are. Well, if my kid died or my kid didn't have a leg because of that, I would be much less than happy. And it goes on, and that's, so to me, the reason the United States is so indebted and crumbling infrastructure, and just look at pictures of other places, they don't look like here.
That's
okay?
Right.
The streets should be paved in gold. We're being robbed blind either by the war machine, which a real lefty like Eisenhower, that was his last speech that he warned about, beware of the military-industrial complex.
That's right.
Well, we should play that speech. Well, at least that part.
Let me tell you something. What you just mentioned, the crumbling infrastructure. I went back and I looked at Trump's State of the Union addresses. We talked about this last week when he didn't talk about the debt and deficit anymore. The crickets on that. Well, guess what? In his first, whatever it was, 4 States of the Union, he talked about the crumbling infrastructure. The last couple of times,
nothing, because our money's going to the little ballroom dancer Zelensky and to wars.
Well, and I'll tell you what else.
It's insane.
You think you're electing a populist, and you're not.
Nope.
Because you look at Reagan. So people make hay over, and even Trump did make hay over. Obama added as much debt as all the previous administrations ahead of him. It's close, but it's not true. He added maybe 80%. Well, guess what? Reagan added 186%.
Yep.
He nearly tripled. Well, he added almost double what all previous administrations had done before him. Trump is right there with Obama. And Reagan and Trump are held up as the populist conservative Republicans. They are not. Reagan outspent all of their administrations by a long shot. And then he basically, with his amnesty, turned California red or purple, permanently blue,
by amnesty,
and put us in debt. And he's the freaking conservatives' hero. Trump rides in. He's supposed to be a populist. He takes us to this war and outspends Obama. What's going on?
It's the uniparty. It's all you can say. And I just find it really very depressing and upsetting with Trump because I believed him. Now, let me say, I am eternally grateful for the following. The border is closed. We have had 0 illegals enter our country, and that was the end of our country if that trajectory continued. And I don't know how we'll ever get out of it anyway, because it's still going to turn a lot of places red. And, so that's number one. He got us out of the Paris Climate BS Accords, and he got us out of the WHO, which was going to have authority over when we declared medical emergencies, which would probably be every other week. So I am grateful for that, but I am sorely disappointed, and I am mad that other Republicans think you have no right to demand that he live up to his promises. Welcome back to Baldy and the Blonde, where we are discussing war. What is it good for? Well, and I have the audacity, as a right-leaning libertarian who voted for Trump, to question the fact that despite what I thought was a very clear promise by him and a lifelong position of being against endless foreign wars, I am very concerned about the situation we're in, and I would love to be wrong, and I hope that we do get out in a week and we're gone, and that would make me feel a lot better. But I am so worried because time and again we have been dragged into wars, kicking and screaming, and we're there like Afghanistan 20 years. 20 years. With people falling off planes, 13 soldiers at Abbey Gate slaughtered. And, it was Biden that did that. But at the same time, who was president when we got out of Vietnam and the same kind of thing went down? It was terrible.
So you said something that I feel I need to clarify.
Okay.
You said that you're Republican, conservative, definitely on the right.
Libertarian.
Libertarian, okay. Yeah. And I earlier said I didn't vote for Trump and I didn't support Trump, so a lot of the listeners, maybe new ones, might think, oh, he's a
lefty. Yeah. No. I'll let you handle that.
Exactly. I am not. I'm an anarchist. I think all governments are illegitimate. And I didn't vote for anybody. I was born into the system, and I really don't think that they should legitimately rule over me.
Which I certainly know about that with you, but I didn't say it because we disagree on that.
Now, having said that, that's what I think. I think they're illegitimate over me.
Oh, wait, I think they're legitimate. I just do what I can to, cut my losses, try to shape my life by participating.
And I am far, it's far to the right. I suppose you could have... The term, this is for another time, the term anarchist is totally misused.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean chaos. It just means that you believe that we could organize society in such a way that there was not a central power.
Right. And
that we could peacefully organize society in another way. That's all that means.
If y'all want to know where Tom and I come from, we come from the Ron Paul movement, okay? So that kind of...
There you go.
I think that's...
But I am not a lefty
and you did vote for Ron Paul. So
I did. In fact, for the first time, I registered Republican specifically so I could vote for Ron Paul twice.
Yeah, well, it was a great option. And by the way, he was doing really well. And what did they do?
Cheated.
He actually won the Iowa caucus, which would have carried him really far, but they cheated, and 1 year later they said, oh, yeah, it's true, he did win.
Mm-hmm.
Too
late.
That's
true.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I was elected as a delegate to that convention, and they pulled all the state Republican Party, ran off all the, and I believe me, there were a ton of young people involved at that time.
Yes, I remember.
And they ran them all out. They cheated, and at least in my opinion, they had some underhanded things. But, parties are entitled to do what they want. So I can't really say they cheated. They followed their own rules that are set up for their power.
I don't know. I saw some cheating.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
With my eyes. Let's see. Why don't we go to some sound clips that we got regarding this lovely illegal war of aggression. Mm-hmm. The first is Marco Rubio, who... I don't know if he slipped and told the truth or if he meant to tell the truth, but he seemed to have told the truth, which is weird.
Can I say one thing before we play clips?
Go for
I just want to say, when you say illegal war of aggression, the Constitution was set up so that the president couldn't be like a king. Remember, no kings, couldn't be like a king and send our armies to war or our young people to war without congressional approval. Now, as it turns out, the very last time, should we make this a bonus question for the audience? When was the very last time that Congress officially declared war? Because you hear all these Dems in Congress right now going, well, I wasn't asked and I didn't get to vote on it. When was the last time Congress voted, Tom?
The last time that the Congress voted to declare war was December of 1941.
That is correct. And we've yet been at war ever since.
And we've just been in nonstop wars.
So spare me the Orange Man bad stuff, because it's all of them bad.
Well, but that just means Orange Man bad. If they're all bad, he's part of the bad.
He's part of the bad.
Orange Man
part
bad.
Part of not using the Constitution and not following the. But we don't care about the Constitution anymore.
No, they love to give lip service to it. What a great document.
What a great.
And then they just ignore it
all the time
and go do whatever they want.
Yep.
So so we do have a great clip of Marco Rubio.
Yes,
it's only 15 seconds long, so listen carefully, because you're going to hear a bizarre truth bomb out of the mouth of Marco Rubio. Here we go.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed.
Okay, so he's saying that the reason that we struck Iran is because we knew that the Israelis were about to.
Yep.
And if we allowed Iran to shoot back at full strength, we would sustain more injured and dead. So what we did was, to mitigate that, was to strike first. So that way when they did strike back, they couldn't strike back as hard. That's what he said.
And I'm just wondering if there was a reporter with 2 brain cells, what's the natural question you would ask Secretary of State Rubio?
Well, you would ask him, why would you not try to convince him not to attack?
How about even more than that? No, Bibi. No, you may not.
Well, no, that's not a question a reporter would ask. The question a reporter would ask is, well, why didn't you?
Oh, you're so nitpicky.
Why didn't you? Well, that's what you said. Why didn't you tell Israel, don't strike? Because you just said, we knew that we would suffer injured and dead. So it's like, wait, you mean you knew that if Israel shot first, we would suffer injured and dead?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell them then under no circumstances do we condone you doing that?
And why didn't you tell them, hey, you know that $4 billion we write a check to you every year, Israel, not to mention the other things we do for them, literally cash money. You're not getting it if you go launch a unilateral attack. How about that, Bibi?
Nope, we don't do that. So now...
I don't understand it, because Bibi literally is in the news in Israel all the time, bragging that Trump is his bitch.
He's here more often than he's there.
That's true.
7 times in the last year.
He probably lives in the Lincoln bedroom.
Jeez. So the next one is Mike Johnson telling a similar tale. Again, a truth bomb.
Mike Johnson, who is the congressional majority leader, and he is from Louisiana.
Okay, but there's a part of the clip I didn't get, and I'm just going to summarize that he talked several times with the president, and he's going to share with us some of the non-confidential part of the briefing. Okay, now let's hear what he has to say after he talked to the president several times and what he can divulge.
Israel was determined to act in their own defense here, with or without American support. Why? Because Israel faced what they deemed to be an existential threat. Iran was building missiles at a rapid clip to the point where our allies in the region could not keep up. Iran has long vowed to take out Israel, wipe it off the map, and they have long seen that as a critical threat to their very existence. Because Israel was determined to act, with or without the U.S., our commander-in-chief and the administration and the officials I just named had a very difficult decision to make. They had to evaluate the threats to the U.S., to our troops, to our installations, to our assets in the region and beyond. And they determined, because of the exquisite intelligence that we had, that if Israel fired upon Iran and took action against Iran to take out the missiles, then they would have immediately retaliated against U.S. personnel and assets.
Great. First of all, that means we have targets in the Middle East that don't even need to be there, that are in harm's way. But that's a whole other topic. But here he echoed what Rubio said.
Same thing.
And he said, but he added that this was after talking several times with Trump about this.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it seems to me that we could have said to Israel, no. We just 6 months ago we're told that we had annihilated their nuclear capability. So what are we doing? So Israel decides they want to do it. So, okay, we're at war?
We never tell them no.
No.
Bald and the Blonde are back, just happy as can be, as usual. Aren't you in a great mood?
I'm thrilled. I'm just thrilled.
All right,
I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, me too.
With the whole situation.
I want to move on to a clip of what President Trump had to say. We heard Mike Johnson and Marco Rubio clearly say that the reason that we attacked Iran before they could strike us is because we had intelligence that that Israel was about to strike them, and we didn't want Israel to strike them first because we knew that Iran would strike back at us with full strength. Yep. So if we struck them first, they would strike back, but at least not at full strength. They both said that.
And notably absent from the reporter pool was this question. Well, why didn't someone tell Israel, no, we just annihilated it in the midnight hammer strikes 6 weeks ago. We annihilated their nuclear capabilities, which seems to have been, I don't know, forgotten? Does everybody have amnesia?
Well, it's a lot more than 6 weeks ago.
6 months, I meant to say. Sorry.
So, right. No, it didn't occur to anybody to say, well, did anybody suggest that there's a third option? Like, it doesn't have to be Israel striking first, and it doesn't have to be us striking first. It could be Israel, don't do it.
Yeah.
Stand down and let's negotiate this thing. And we'll talk more about negotiation.
Yeah, we got to talk about that. That's a very bad precedent we've set.
But now let's hear what Trump's explanation was compared to what their explanation was.
Mr. President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu
In case that's not audible, the question was, Mr. President, did Israel force your hand? Right. And he's saying no.
The United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. We were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack if we didn't do it.
They meaning Iran.
Yes.
Okay.
They were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. Based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand.
So not based on intelligence, based on what Trump thought. The way negotiations are going, I felt strongly that Iran was going to fire first.
Based on what?
Based on the way the negotiations were going. What is that?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
You can sniff out what passes the sniff test. The first two we heard sounded like they were coherent. They agreed with each other that we had to go first because we knew Israel was about to. It's like, hey, if this is going to happen, let's just jump in.
Yeah.
Trump's doesn't pass the smell test. Well, I could tell by the way negotiations were going. I was pretty sure they were going to strike first.
And there was no indication from him.
Stupid.
There was no indication from him before the strikes that we were going to get involved that way.
Oh wait, and then I have another clip from Trump. Hang on. This will be helpful too. This sheds some light on it.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Oh, my bad. That was from Shrek. That wasn't Trump. I'm not even sure how that got in there. Oh, hang on. So right before we came back on during the break, somebody texted me this. It's a brand new tweet on X just a few hours ago. I don't know if it's true. I'm going to try to find out maybe during the next short break. This says Iran has been storing its fighter jets underground, and the U.S. has been bombing drawings of planes on the concrete.
I don't believe that.
Well, it could totally be a thing.
Maybe.
Why would that not be true? We did that in World War II with D-Day.
The reason I don't believe, I know, and it was brilliantly done, and it can be done.
Why not do that?
But drawings, and we have a much more sophisticated equipment these days.
Easy. Well, I shouldn't say it's easy enough to find out, but it's easy enough to at least source that and see if there's anything to that.
Because there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yes.
You know? That's why we're sticking to what did Mike Johnson say, what did Marco Rubio say, and what did President Trump say. We're looking at their actual words.
Okay, so speaking of actual words, here's what Donald Trump tweeted in October of 2012. Now that Obama's poll numbers are in a tailspin, watch for him to launch a strike on Libya or Iran. He is desperate. Sounds like he's looking in the mirror.
Sounds, and it was true too, by the way, because
it's true now.
King Obama launched, I think, 7 different attacks, which you pointed out during the break that the reason they all get around the constitutional requirement that Congress declare war, not the president, is because they now say those aren't wars.
These aren't wars.
People are dying, guns are being shot.
No, Korea wasn't a war. It was
not a war.
Police action.
For 3 years,
Right. Vietnam was not a war. Afghanistan, Iraq, none of these are wars.
66,000 people died in a police action for Vietnam. Yeah.
Now, I guarantee you that if our country was bombed and they took out leadership and leadership's families, we would call that an act of war.
I think.
I mean, we called Pearl Harbor an act of war. We didn't call that a military strike.
That's right.
Right.
It's to avoid that congressional.
Yes, but it's not an act of war if we do it. Now, here's a tweet from Trump back in November 2013. Remember that I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate properly, not skilled. So we broke off negotiations the first time and bombed them. And then this time Trump said, well, I could tell by the way negotiations were going, they were going to strike first. So apparently nobody can negotiate well. And I don't think he tweeted this about Obama 12, 13 years ago.
And he was correct about that. It's just that now it applies to him too. Welcome to the club. So what the problem is, too, for diplomacy, I don't know my history well enough to know, and maybe somebody out there knows, please send me a message, but have we ever before called people to negotiate as a ploy to kill them all? Because we've done it twice so far.
I don't know the answer to that.
It sure doesn't sound like diplomacy.
I don't know why anybody
it's a bad idea,
want to negotiate with us in the future.
Even though the guys that got killed were bad guys. No, we don't even need to talk about that. So I don't want to hear from anybody.
I know, right?
And, you must be a commie.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
No, I'm an American, and I would like America to be first. And I am very tired of our treasure and blood being spilled on foreign soils for wars that have nothing to do with us. And there is zero evidence that the United States was at risk from Iran.
Zero is right.
Zero.
Yeah, we got a couple of big oceans.
Zero, and not only that, but that comes out of the mouths of President Trump and Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth and everyone else 6 months ago in Operation Midnight Hammer, where we obliterated their nuclear capabilities.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
now,
what are we doing?
Oh, well, okay. So you know what? Let's go ahead and let's play that J.D. Vance clip. He's gonna explain. He's gonna answer your question.
Okay.
Right, not satisfactorily, but he's gonna answer it.
I haven't heard this, so.
We destroyed Iran's ability to build a nuclear weapon during President Trump's term. We set them back substantially. But I think the president was looking for the long haul. He was looking for Iran to make a significant long-term commitment that they would never build a nuclear weapon, that they would not pursue the ability to be on the brink of a nuclear weapon.
So the first time with Midnight Hammer was enough to set them back only until the very end of a Trump presidency. But now we are going back because now we want to make sure they never get one. Well, how are you going to do that?
Yes. It's disgusting, really.
And Ron Paul, he talked about blowback, and he was definitely proven right about that.
Of course.
You can't do something like this and not see blowback in the long term.
I mean, look at those poor little girls at school.
Oh, well, okay, but that's not even blowback. But I know, right? That's in the immediate term. We killed. I don't know what the number is. It's probably upwards of 200.
I don't want to hear from
now.
Anybody. We don't know if it was our planes, Israel's planes. We don't know, but it was a war that we instigated.
Exactly.
That led directly to the deaths of all these little girls.
Yes.
100 girls, maybe more.
No, I think one school was like 165, and another probably put that over 200. And the thing is, these things come in so fast. You don't even know what's true. You just know what you read on the news. You don't know how much is psyops. You don't know how much is just straight up lies.
And speaking of psyops,
you just don't know.
Speaking of psyops, which is psychological operations, we were discussing how. Okay, we've got these two stories that are consistent. Well, we have so many stories. We have the Midnight Hammer story, followed by this, which then led to the stories from Mike Johnson and Marco Rubio that, okay, we had to go because Israel was going. And of course, we have no say-so over what Israel wants to do. And then the president says, no, that's not true. I wanted to go based on my feelings that the talks weren't going well.
Oh, yeah. Plus, he cited the hostages for the 444 days.
Yeah.
He cited the Beirut bombings. They cited all these things. They're changing their stories constantly.
Why is that, Tom?
Well, you and I have talked about this sort of thing, is that it's interesting that when the stories change so much, I don't think it's inept. I think it's then the story becomes the changing stories.
Yeah.
And we fall into that too. We say, hey, look at, we're even doing it
today. We're doing it today.
We're saying, oh, look at all these changing stories. And now the story is the changing stories.
Yeah,
instead of the core thing is what started all these stories. What's the genesis of the stories? That's what we should be looking at. Why did we strike Iran when we did?
Yeah.
On whose behalf? Right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. On whose orders?
Yes.
That's what we should be looking at, not the changing stories. And yet here we are. We fall into that trap too. It is important, but we don't want to focus only on the changing stories at the expense of not looking at what's really going on here.
And meanwhile, none of the promises that were made to us with regard to accountability for the many crimes committed against the American people under the Biden administration, nothing's happening. So now we have a war to distract, a nice shiny bauble over here, but don't look at the fact every day it's a fire hose of election fraud it's proven, okay, all over the country that, the no retribution, no accountability for the election fraud, for the Arctic frost, for Russiagate, for all of these terrible things that were done. Because now we're at a war.
Yep, and
Pam Bondi, I don't know what she does for a living.
All that, and we haven't even said the name Epstein.
Oh, yeah, and that too.
There's that, and that's as big as all of them.
Well, and I'd like you to explain that, because you have quite a different take on that. Welcome back to Baldy and the Blonde, where we are discussing war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Well,
that's an old song. It's a good song. Actually, we're going to make it our bumper music now.
It depends on who you are. If you're Raytheon and Boeing or any of the contractors, or if your name ends in Cheney, it's good for something.
I got a little Boeing stock.
Yeah, it's good for profits.
Quite a bump.
Yeah,
up. Yes.
Good for profits. War is not, you hear it's wasteful and all that. No, it's not. If your name is Cheney, etc.
And that's what one of our most highly decorated presidents, Dwight D. Eisenhower, the commander of the D-Day forces and more, I don't have my terms correct, but warned at the end of his term that we should beware of the rise of the military-industrial complex, because prior to World War II, this is hard to believe for most young Americans, we did not have an army, what's called a standing army. If we had something where we needed an army, then they would raise an army by draft, by volunteers, by whatever means necessary. But when you have an army and you spend zillions on it, you're tempted to use it. And that was his thinking. And he also knew, as, a former highly decorated army man and president, that it was a system fraught with the potential for abuse, which he warned against. And I think we have proven that his predictions were correct ever since.
Oh, yeah.
Days.
That was proven long ago. Okay, wait, before we move on, there's another clip I wanted to play. It's 40 seconds long. It's Lindsey Graham. If you can listen to Lindsey Graham for 40 seconds. But I want you to listen closely. It sounds exactly like Trump's talking about why we needed to go into Iran. This is Lindsey Graham while he was still running for president in 2015.
Oh, my gosh.
Listen to this. This is when he was being interviewed on CNN by, what's her name, Bash?
This week, you told Jake Tapper that as president,
Bash.
you would move to not only destroy Iran's nuclear program, but even take out its Air Force and Navy if they went too far with its nuclear program. Do you really think that Americans have the stomach for another war in the Middle East?
What I said is if the Iranians walk away from the table and they try to break out and get a nuclear weapon, if we can't end their program peacefully, and they try to break out, as president, I would stop them. The worst possible nightmare for the world at large is the Ayatollahs in Iran with nuclear weapons. So if I'm president, to the Iranians, if you try to break out and get a nuclear weapon, we're going to stop you. We're going to put all the force on the table that's necessary to keep you from getting a nuclear weapon.
Okay, so for the record, Lindsey Graham's bid for the 2016 nomination didn't even make it out of 2015.
That's right.
He dropped out in December of 2015 with less than 1% in the polls.
And I don't.
And so now we have his foreign policy. We didn't vote for that. Well, I didn't vote for Trump, but America did not vote for Lindsey Graham's foreign policy.
That's what we have.
That sounded exactly like Trump talking right there.
Exactly. And it's not what we were promised at all.
No.
Now,
what happened?
I'm just going to pray every day that we get out. That the Iranian, I'm sure, and listen, I think we should mention that I understand that to the Iranians who are not aligned with the regime of the Ayatollahs, this is a great day. The Ayatollahs just killed 30,000 of their own people a few weeks,
reportedly,
I guess like a month ago.
Reportedly.
I know, but I heard, this is a shame too. If we were gonna go in, I mean, I wish we would have gone in and helped prevent that. I don't know how. I don't even really know.
Sorry, I don't believe the story.
But it may not even be true. But I don't know. I don't know. But it seemed. But I heard that we couldn't go in. None of this makes sense. Okay. And I think that I heard this from Eric Prince on Megyn Kelly, but I'm not positive that we weren't ready a few weeks ago to go do that, where we could have helped people not be slaughtered in the streets. Because the Iranians are not allowed to have guns. Never give up your guns, people. The guns are to protect you against the totalitarian government, not for deer hunting.
Do you remember when we bombed Beijing after Tiananmen Square?
No.
Never mind. I forgot.
Right.
I forgot. That's in a parallel universe.
No, George Bush
that didn't happen.
George Bush just gave them away. No, we didn't do that. We made them favored nation status. We gave them favored nation status.
They've had most favored nation status since the 90s.
Yes,
after the early 90s.
Yeah.
But we just talk smack about them all the time. But they've been most favored nation trading status forever.
Yeah.
And what I meant that about Tiananmen Square is that this administration has talked so many things as the reason that we need to go. Going clear back to 79,
right,
and other things in between, including now they're slaughtering their own people. And like, okay, wait, just choose one. Why are we doing this? Right. And now they're saying, well, it's because Israel was going to. So now we've got 1,000 different stories.
And what do you think it really is? I actually don't know. What are we doing? Iran is Iran is 90 million people and 3 times the size of Texas. Yeah. It is gigantic. What are we doing? It's the Persian culture. It's thousands of years old. These are not stupid people.
You asked what I think?
Yes, what do you think?
I will tell you what I think. I really do think that you can look at not that plans always go as planned and things turn out the way you wanted, but as I mentioned earlier, when you have a long history of going in somewhere and creating chaos and then leaving behind that chaos for years, after a while I start thinking that's the plan, is to go in there and make it chaotic, and we don't really care who takes over. They even said about this one, we don't know who might we have no control over who might take over, who might be the new leadership in Iran, and so we don't know, is it going to be worse? But the point is,
that's what we did.
There's no coherent story about why we went in. That means we have no way to know when it's time to come out. I guarantee you, even if we came out in a few weeks, the chaos would last for a long time.
Yes.
Because you'll have different power structures there fighting for prominence.
Yep.
And we're already talking about bringing in Kurds, basically starting a civil war there that might last a generation.
Right.
And if that sounds crazy, well, we've seen that in Afghanistan.
20 years.
Correct. So I really do think that it looks like it's a repeat of let's go somewhere and let's just create chaos. And
we're still dealing with the chaos that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama created in Ukraine when they deposed the leader of the country, and now we have an endless war there, and continued to move the boundaries of NATO practically to the doorstep of Russia, despite promising Russia for years that we wouldn't do it. We just kept doing it, and now we have Ukraine, we have Iran. We're running out. I mean, you can't get a straight answer on this either, but I've heard that, Barack let the Iranians get these drones, which they are able to copy and make for 30 to 60,000. In order to shoot them down, we have to use multi-million-dollar weapons called interceptors, but we're almost out of those because we gave them all to Ukraine. I don't know. It's well, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope to be completely wrong and have by tomorrow we'll be out of there and everything will be cool and the people will
It won't happen.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
And think about this. Even if we still had those interceptors,
Lent.
if we still had those interceptors and they had not given them to Ukraine, we would be using them for Israel. So it doesn't even matter. They're not ours.
Well, that's true because
we make them and give them away.